Every reenactor has been asked those iconic questions. Is that fire real? Is that baby real? Is that gun real? Are you North or South? Are you Confederate or Union? They'll ask you as you're wearing your full red coat, shouting "God Save the King" in front of your clearly British flag. Heck, I've been asked if I was North or South in a World War II reenactment at one point. I had a little red star on my forehead, and people were talking in Russian, and I guess someone approached me and said, "So, you guys, Confederates?" And then, of course, perhaps the best one of all, are you hot in that uniform? Well, let me think about this for a second. I'm wearing 2 layers of wool and a linen undershirt. I'm marching around in the sun all day. My hat is black. We're shooting guns with black powder inside of them that explodes. And it's 110 degrees outside, and I ran out of water in my canteen 2 hours ago. Yeah, I'm a little hot. It's a little warm, I think. I could maybe do with a little bit of shade coming from the sky there. That would be nice. What a ridiculous question to ask. What a stupid question. Are you hot and all that? Says a person wearing their t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops or what have you. Yes, of course. It gets a little warm in all the clothing. Obviously, it's a silly question. And every one of us has been asked that question so very, very many times. It's become something of a meme in the reenactment community, people asking, "Are you hot?" and all that, and "Is that real?" Other, silly questions of the sort. But here's the thing about those questions. I think that we should give them more credit than they currently get, and as well, we should treat those people who ask them, well, of course, with all due respect, with all the same respect that you give to any other spectator, and of course we do, but don't think of it so harshly as we tend to do, because yes, it comes across as a very, very stupid question. Are you hot? And all that stuff, obviously, yes. But let's talk about what inspires people to ask questions like that, to grasp at such a silly thing, so to say, and talk of all things about that. Of all the things that they can ask you about, they can ask about the uniform, they can ask about the war, about your regiment, about you personally, but no, they gravitate to that one. Why is it that is such a common question that we ask? Why is it such a common talking point? And then as well, I'll talk about the use of a thing like that. As well, I think a question like this can be incredibly useful and actually be an excellent question to be asked and an excellent question to answer. But we'll get to that soon enough as well. Let's talk a little bit about the social power dynamic of a reenactment. You go to these events with your friends, with buddies, guys who you've known for ages, usually for be it a couple of weeks, couple of years even. You've had a relationship with these people. You know them, and unless it's a really bad group, you get along with these people. You enjoy their company. A reenactment group is kind of like a social club in many ways like that. So when you get to the event, after you set up the tents and everything, everyone's all in kit and you're parading on the drill, and then you're, kind of hanging around afterwards, maybe after the battle or leading up to the battle, just kind of hanging around in camp and you're talking with your friends. What else are you supposed to do? Just stand there stock still waiting for someone to walk up? No, you're chatting with your friends. It's natural to do. The spectator walks by and they're interested. Like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. This is a weird hobby, but this is interesting. Hey, I kind of want to talk to one of these people. But look at it from their perspective. This outsider, this person who does not know you, this person who does not know any of your friends, this person who is not even a member of the same hobby, a person who is dressed very, very differently from you, is walking up to this single crowd, potentially even inward-facing crowd, not necessarily outward-facing, crowd of people who are talking with each other, who clearly know one another, and who are all dressed in exactly the same way. That's intimidating to walk up to, isn't it? To walk up to this group of people who all look the same and all know each other and everything, and to just address a question and be like, "Oh, what regiment are you and what did they do in the war?" That's kind of, it's not off-putting, it's not bad. I encourage people to do that. But from the individual's point of view, it's a difficult thing to do, isn't it? It's a very difficult thing to ask people to do, just walk up to these crowds and ask insightful questions out of the blue. Even if there's a person standing, on sentry duty or what have you, and saying, "Oh, welcome to the British camp, any questions at all, feel free to ask." Well, that's kind of putting the emphasis on the visitor, on the guest, on the spectator, on the public. So, right, it's up to you now. Figure out a question, then you can come to us, Ask the question, and we will bestow the knowledge unto you. Now, of course, this is an educational medium, and so that, is always going to be a part of the power play, is that the reenactor is in a position of power over the spectator because they're the, at least, nominal expert in whatever thing you're asking them about. They are the person with the knowledge that you're trying to figure out. They're putting on some sort of a public display, and again, their experience with this kind of thing, the public, they're not experienced in these kinds of things. At least for the most part, most of them don't know an awful lot about the history that they're going to the reenactment for. But they want to have some sort of interaction. They go to the event, and so it's logical that they want to have some kind of interaction with these people. So you walk up to someone, and whatever it may be, some excuse is made to strike up conversation. You go to whatever it is you know. What do people know? What do people have small talk about? Common and relatable things. Sometimes it's like, oh, where are you coming from? Oh, I'm from Boston. Wow, it's like how long of a drive is that? Oh, it's about a 5-hour drive. Oh, you faced a lot of traffic down there? That doesn't have anything to do with the reenactment, but it's something relatable. Oh, well, I've had long trips before. Where are you coming from today? Where are you from? That's relatable. Everyone's from somewhere, and that has a story to tell that people can connect on. Especially if you live nearby where that person came from, something like that. The weather as well, of course. Alongside all these other subjects, the weather is iconically, stereotypically, one of the most go-to topics when it comes to small talk, for better or worse. Lovely weather we're having. Ooh, dreadful weather we're having lately, isn't it? Can you believe this rain? Oh, it's so hot, isn't it? That's what people do. That's what people talk about. The weather's so great today, isn't it? And as a result, this person who is, pretty warm themselves, they're trying to fan themselves and they're drinking water and they're telling the kids, make sure, you stay in the shade and all that. They're concerned. They're thinking about the weather. All of a sudden they see this other person who is wearing, not just like winter equipment, but like, things that are outlandish and so thick and heavy, and they're marching around, they're doing all this exercise. They're like, that's where your mind goes. Wow, that person, I'm miserable right now. They must be 10 times as miserable as I am. So that's what you can relate. That is an immediate way you are relating to and connecting with that person. So when you walk up, it's one of the first things that comes to mind. Oh, you must be really hot in that outfit, right? Because it's a really hot day. I know it's a hot day out, and I'm experiencing that. Man, good credit to you. You must be dealing with even worse than I am. It's not that the person is stupid. It's not that they just can't possibly come up with a good question. They could have a million questions in their mind. But what, are you just going to walk up? So in 1777, when the British were occupied... No. You relate to people in whatever way you can. That is how you begin a social interaction. That is how you begin a relationship. You relate to similar things with a person. So you find the things that connect you to them. The temperature is one of the most readily available topics to discuss. It doesn't mean that they can't think of a good question. In fact, I've found more often than not that the people who will, through whatever, sauntering by, and I'm like, oh, welcome to the 54th camp, how are you today? Something like that. Even that's a really good way to get a hold of people. Just ask how people are doing, like, oh, I'm doing well. Oh, I'm pretty hot. You must be suffering and all that. I'm like, well, yeah, and a conversation has begun. And I found that the people who will comment on something inane and silly like that, like, oh, you must be so hot, so long as you identify with them, so long as you have a conversation and you can bring it to something bigger, so to say, to an actual historical conversation, which I'll get to in a second here, all of a sudden, these people, now they're having a conversation with you, they feel much more comfortable and personable around you because you have, lowered yourself in a way to their level. You've identified with them on their level in a way that they can relate to personally, and you're having a conversation. All of a sudden, now when they're in that conversation, that's when the question, the genuine questions start popping up. Oh, wow. So yeah, I noticed you have that, like, that green on your uniform. What does the green mean? Oh, well, these are called the facings, and they're going to be a different color depending on the regiment to regiment. Oh, so what's the difference between one regiment and another? Like the British Grenadiers and like other kinds? Well, kind of. Actually, every individual regiment had grenadiers. Regiment is sort of an organizational term for the British Army. It's how they're divided, and so on and so forth. I'll cut myself off there because I started going on like an entire different video subject, but you get the idea. It's a way to begin a new conversation and then getting into those questions. Those people usually have great questions, and even if they don't have a great question, from the beginning of the conversation, in the course of your talking and discussing historical topics, they will come up with good questions. People are inquisitive. The fact that they're at a reenactment probably means that they're interested in learning more. And even if they're not interested in learning more at the very start, usually you can drag out that interest. That's a rather cruel way of putting it, you can guide that interest out so that way they become a little bit more inquisitive and maybe you inspire them to learn more. And that's the real point that I want to make in this video, is that every question, every conversation, every point with a spectator, with a member of the public, can represent an excellent opportunity for education and for inspiring future learning. There is no such thing as a question that is useless. Take that question and use it as an opportunity to talk about much bigger ideas. Again, the more common one. Are you hot in that outfit? Yes, I am. But here's the thing, maybe not so much as you'd think. You see, wool is a natural fiber and it breathes very well. And truth be told, I'm glad that I'm wearing this clothing because this morning I was very, very cold. And you use it to launch off to other discussions. Why were they wearing wool? Well, wool, it's the year-round uniform for the most part. Minor alterations were in fact made by the British Army and many others during things like the summer in the southern colonies. They were making alterations to their uniforms to make sure that they weren't as terribly uncomfortable as you may imagine. The fact that, wool is a very, very durable material, that it's readily available, that it's easy to dye and to clean and things like that. All of a sudden, you can use a question like that and you can launch off into much bigger subjects. And I have found myself, through the simple question of, are you hot in all that clothing, talking with a spectator about why the British Army is wearing wool and the overall economy of conflict, the economy of military expenditure, and the nature of the British Army in North America and the nature of their campaigning, all sorts of subjects. It's a fascinating question so long as you can guide it along the appropriate channels. If someone asks you, are you hot in that outfit? And you say, oh yeah, it's brutal. That's it. It dies. The spectator, oh yeah, I'm sure. Well, all right, have fun out there, and then they walk away. Otherwise, if you just say, oh yeah, it's brutal, and then you toss the ball. This is a tennis racket, I suppose. Now you knock the ball over into their court. All of a sudden, it's up to them. Oh, right. Well, that got shot down. Yeah, no, good. Credit to you guys. Drink plenty of water. I hope it's water in that canteen, not alcohol. That's another common one. All right. The conversation dies. The conversation ends. You as the reenactor, you as the person in uniform, standing there as a participant in the event, you are claiming the role of, shall we say, of the authority. Not necessarily an expert, but you become the authority. And people will walk up to you no matter what they say, unless it's like, I'm sorry, do you know where the bathrooms are? It's something like that. Obviously, just give them, oh yeah, it's right over there. Obviously. But for the most part, whatever the question is, it's because they're looking for more. They're looking to you as the expert. It is your responsibility and it is your privilege. This is the best part of reenactment. It is up to you to take that person and teach them more, as the educational agent, as it were. And I don't mean that to scare people either, like new reenactors who maybe don't know everything. Don't be intimidated by the fact, because if someone asks you a question, or if a conversation starts going in a direction that you don't know about, that's okay to say like, oh, that's a really good question. I'm not sure, I'm kind of new to all of this. Hey, Tim, come over here. Do you know how you call another person over? They're your friend. Call them over. That's why they're here. Have a conversation. Even if no one knows, like, that's a really good question. If I can recommend, maybe X or Y book, X or Y author, go to this archive, go to this or whatever, just anything you can, have the conversation, inspire the interest, share your love, share your passion for history. That is why we're there. I think I've said that's why we're there for a number of things this entire time, but you get the idea. You get the argument that I'm making here. There's no such thing as a useless question. Thank you all so very much for watching. Of course, in particular, to my ever-beneficent supporters on patreon.com, for of course it is by virtue of your ever-beneficent support that I am able to carry on making videos, well, like this one. I was exactly like this one. It's a new setup, isn't it? I'm standing up now. The cane is back. Aha. And of course, to you as well, my dear viewer. Thank you very much for watching today. And of course, until the next time, I am, and I shall remain, your most humble